All right. We are live. Oh, I need to throw music for myself too. All right, maybe listen to some more lo-fi today. It's a bit loud. Jonathan, hey, how's it going? Welcome back, 3D King. How's everyone doing today? We actually have some plans today. I need to model something, so we're going to go through some of that. Just something for the shop. Hey, John. Hey, Ethan. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have everybody here. There we go. Switching which lo-fi playlist I'm listening to here. Nice. Sean, I am well. Are you doing well? I hope you're having a good day. It's officially, well, I think it's still technically spring, but it's warm out. It's going to be pretty warm today, so don't mind it. It's nice to have like leaves on trees and be able to go outside and actually enjoy myself. Hey Zephyr, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. I'm going to get a couple more things situated here. And we'll get my screens oriented to do that. Jonathan, while I'm getting that sorted, will I be reviewing Maker World listings at some point? I would be open to doing Maker World listings if anybody wanted to like throw some in chat. Somebody had a good idea to do the like Etsy listings or some of those listings as a Patreon rewards for Patreon backers. So I'm actually going to save that one in my back pocket for once I release Patreon, which is actually going to be coming up soon. Waiting on that. I think we talked about it last week, but I've got a benchmark I'm waiting to hit before I launch that for everybody. Drippy Cheese, hey, JF, how's it going? All right, while people are streaming in, let me talk about what the project is, and actually let me get my screen flipped over. We'll see if I can do this today. I tried to prepare a little bit for this, but let me go ahead and pop this on, and then I always forget which direction I have to go. I need to scooch over here so everybody can see me, and I suppose we don't need to see all of my face or all the screen over here. Cool, I think that's it. So what I need to do is I've been working on the shop a little bit, and I don't know if you guys have been watching any of my short videos that I've put out, but yesterday I worked on like a whole bunch of shelves, which that's a whole nother story, which I kind of want to talk about today as well. But I got all the shelves in, and I've officially moved all of my filament from down below where my printers are onto the wall, and it's also going to be kind of a order staging area as well as prototypes. But I think the prototype products I want to move off of there eventually. But either way, that's looking great. But in the process of getting everything, continually reorganized in my shop, the next part of it is I actually want to get a area to cover this spot. Let me turn my camera for you. Right here. So this is like my entryway to the rest of my basement. And there's just boxes and boxes and stuff out there. I got some like board game stuff on that side too that I hang out with buddies with, workout equipment, that type of thing. But I want to kind of cover it. One, for when I'm doing video editing or video shoots, I can block off some of the light coming in from other parts of the basement. But to do that, I need to like create a rail here, like basically like a curtain that I can pull. So in the midst of wanting to save money and recycle, we pulled down a whole bunch of old electrical conduit that was metal when we first bought the house, and I'm going to be reusing some of that. So I have this massive piece. It's got this angle in it, which is nice, and I need that. And I've cut it to size. Oh my gosh, I'll tell you what, doing this backwards is actually really difficult. So we're going to 3D model some pieces that slip onto here, so that way I can screw it onto the area right back here. So I'll show you guys, like it's going to go right up in this spot like that, and then I'll have a curtain here that I can kind of block off this whole area. So it feels like more like a little office space. Like reusing some stuff, but I need to get some measurements, and we're gonna mock that up in here and get some modeling going. Dr. Sam says, hi, finally took the risk and investment to purchase Filament machine. Going to be recycling old prints, filament, and poops. I'll tell you what, that is pretty sweet. That is very sweet. Is there like a specific one you chose? Because I'm actually not super familiar with what machines are on the market. I know there's some that take more work and some others that are starting to become more like, you know, just put the stuff in and you get a filament roll at the end. Curious which one you ended up going with. All right, so again, bear with me as I go through this modeling process. Doing two things at once is actually quite hard, but yeah. Dennis asks, how much do you worry about people copying your designs and selling them themselves? I don't worry about it. Number one is some of my designs I'm starting to make a bit more complex, so that way it would be harder to copy and copy it well. And then the second thing is most people aren't going to do that. It just takes too much work. When you can go on Maker World and get free models, if you're somebody who is interested in just trying to make a quick buck and not really come up with you know, creative solutions of your own, you're likely just going to go strip models off of Maker World, and you're not going to care about licensing and that type of thing, and then try to sell those online. So there's a lot of other accessible ways for people to not put in the work of the 3D modeling that I think people would go through first before actually trying to copy one of my designs. And then the second thing is, if somebody does copy a design and becomes successful, or they take some of my sales, I'll just design something new, and then I don't have to worry about it. So I'm not really leaning into any one product being, you know, a bestseller per se. More of like a broad array of products bringing in money for the store. Dr. Sam says, this is one of the 3D Pansy C1, a very new machine, but it's been following them for a while. Sweet. I will have to check that out. Maybe down the road, not now, but down the road I would be very interested in recycling my own filaments. And I think once I move out of this little 75 square foot workshop is perhaps when I would consider doing something like that. I have plans, I have goals, but yeah, if I can move out of here, this little tiny space, into a dedicated shop, essentially, that's not inside my house, then that would be a good fit for me. All right, so pipe size. We are looking at 21 millimeters, and that's really, I think, the only thing we need, and then the rest of it's all subjective, so that's kind of convenient. And then maybe we'll do a locking thread on there as well. Let me get up my modeling software. It's gonna be kind of weird because I have to model in a smaller area. Alrighty, so this is Shaper 3D. I always get asked what software I use. It is paid. I know a lot of you have been on this stream before and have already asked and heard that before, but I like it. It's really easy to use. My first 3D modeling software that I got into was SketchUp. If anybody remembers that, it's still around, but to use SketchUp now is actually more of a burden and quite frustrating than it used to be. You'll just go on Google SketchUp, download the program, and use it locally on your machine. Now it's you know, something through Autodesk or something like that. But SketchUp was so nice because you could build a square super easily, and then everything was kind of like you just grab it and pull it, right? And this software mixes that with the precision that you're needing, which is really cool. Zach says, what are you using to live stream and do these overlays? I am using OBS. Free software, and it's great. Mike, yes, I am using a analog caliper. This is the first one I bought. It was like $22, all metal, and I'll tell you what, I love this thing. I've thought about getting a digital one, but I'll be really honest, when I buy tools, I care as much about the functionality of the tool as I do about the aesthetics, which maybe isn't always the right thing. But I'm just not a fan of like the looks of any of the digital calipers. This one's just really simple, straightforward, and I don't have to feel too bad if I'm a little rough on it, so that's nice too. All right, let me get started here. So we're gonna do top view. I'm gonna start a new sketch. So this is all based off of Sketches, which is very different than SketchUp. And we just talked about 21 millimeters. So I'll just put 21 in here and click enter, and now I can have this circle that I need. So this basically is the tube, the pipe that I need to fit it around. And now we just have to figure out like some mounting for screws, and then also the depth that we want it to hold in. So I've been finding out PLA is actually very strong, which I kind of knew, but I don't suspect we'll have to make it super crazy big. We can get away with some minimal design around this. Next question is from Dan S. Better print quality, P1S or A1 Mini, and by how much? That's a tough question because it really depends. It really depends because the A1 Mini, if you're printing something that doesn't take the full print bed, it prints on par with the P1S. But when you start printing bigger things, the P1S is better for those because it can maintain temperature within the area, within the chamber itself, which is why I got the enclosed version. And also I think, don't quote me on this, but I think the way the bed itself, the heating coils, or however they heat up the bed on the bottom, I think it's different. I think it has better heat distribution, so you're going to get better bed adhesion across the whole surface. The Bamboo A1 Mini struggles a little bit. And actually, I ran into something interesting on the Bamboo A1 Mini just in the past like day and a half. I had a full plate print that was maybe only 5 millimeters tall, but it was strong enough that the forces actually curled the edges of the plate. So the part warped, not because of poor bed adhesion, but because it literally pulled the print bed on the corners off of the surface. It was able to overcome the magnetic bed plate or build plate on the A1 Mini. That's crazy to me. So again, it is P1S, I think, is better for those larger items. I hope that answers the question. Yeah, Dennis says, don't like digital calipers, they run out of power. Oh, I didn't even think about that, but yeah, maybe they should make one of those like wind-up ones, like they do the flashlights for the, you can always get a little bit of a charge on there. Ali said, yo, this is the waiting room for the Bamboo anniversary sale. It's taking forever to come around. Is that this week that they're starting that? Because that would be pretty sweet if it was. All right, so let's get back to modeling here. So we've got 21. Now the decision is, what do we want to make it look like? I'm gonna do some pretty simple stuff. So let's just start with a tube that fits around that. And for making it strong enough, I'm gonna say 10 millimeters is kind of, I think, the minimum that I'd be comfortable with being a supporting structure around that to hold up the pipe and like a curtain on that front. So let's go ahead and do, just pop it out there. Now, let's talk about some cool features about Parametric software that I think would be really cool to show you, and that is variables. So let me drop this out. This distance right now is set because I dragged a certain distance, or I could set it to a specific number. But let's go ahead and add a line in here. Or actually, let's just do this. We want this to be always 10 millimeters bigger than this right here, 21. So if we make a new variable and we do, let's do number and do pipe size. We're gonna do camel case, I think that's what it's called. And we'll do 21, so that's right here. And we'll do another one, and we'll do width. We'll do supporting width. Bear with me. We'll just call it S width for easy, and we'll do 10. Now we can start doing some fun stuff with the software. This is the type of stuff that I've been using in my modeling to help me design, and it's been very nice. Now I have these variables on the side here. So let's set this, instead of being 21, let's actually set it to pipe size. And now we can do this one. We'll do pipe size. And here's the cool part, plus S width. Okay, so now we have our drawing. Now, if at any point we want to come back, or actually let's do this first. Let's extrude it so you guys can see it a little bit better. We've made this. Let's go ahead and grab those. Let's just put a chamfer. I'm going to undo this, but I just want to show you. So we have a nice chamfer on it, and we're like, oh, we need to change the inner diameter, but not change anything else, right? All we have to do is come up here, and we could do like 30, and it changes everything with the drawing. So this is the power of parametric drawing. That's really cool, because now I can rapidly iterate on a product, but if it's set up correctly, I can make changes and tweaks. So one way that I use this really well is in tolerances, whether I want like a slip fit or a loose fit or a pressure fit. I can use a tolerance size as a variable and then use some of my offsets in the drawing with that tolerance size. So if I'm like, oh, I actually need these like 20 sides to be in like another 0.5 millimeter or something for pressure fit, I can just change the variable instead of having to change everything else, which is super, super awesome. So let me go ahead and get rid of that though, and I'll continue doing what I was doing here. Just rattling along, and I see lots of questions come in. Let me catch up with this. Drippy Cheese says, I have a hard time coming in with things to sell or model. I'm still learning to model. Any advice? Pick one software, which Tinkercad would actually be a good option for, I think, a lot of people, because it's free, it's also powerful, and I think you can use the models you make commercially without any issues. And then go on YouTube. I mean, that's how I learn, right? Go on YouTube. Also, it helps to have a project. So like in this case, we're designing a slip fit over this with some screw holes so I can mount it to the wall. A lot of people missed that earlier, but this is going to be mounted up like this, and it's going to have a curtain that goes around it, and I need to mount it to kind of block off this door wall for filming. So have a project and make it simple for yourself. Justin says, have you considered any other printer brands? Just tried Anycubic, Cobra, and I'm very pleased. I have considered other printer brands, mainly Prusa. The issue is Prusa, because I started with the A1 series, is like twice the cost for the same features, essentially. So I just didn't do that. And then, yeah, Anycubic, Creality, some of those, I mean, I'm not opposed to them, and I hear some people have really good results with those printers, but for me, like, I'm very much in the mindset of if I wouldn't buy it myself, I don't know if I would want to review it. So I guess in my case, I'm speaking about like having companies reach out, because I've had some companies reach out, many companies reach out about sending me their products to review on my channel for you guys, but it's not something I'd buy on my own, right? And that's what I don't necessarily like. I want to be, it's kind of like when things are on sale. We kind of have this rule of thumb in my household that my wife came up with, which was great, that if you see something on sale and you're like, oh, I think I want to buy that, ask yourself, would you buy that at full price? And if the answer is no, then you probably don't need it. So that's kind of the rule of thumb I like to use, but that's also why I don't have any other types of printers. Bamboo just works really well for what I need. Clayton, hello from Hawaii. Yeah, thank you, Clayton. Yeah, smash that like button. That does help. Appreciate that. Rodney says, where would one start to begin learning how to design? School, or in videos, or from content creators, or websites that offer it? That's a good question. It really depends on where you learn best. I learn best by doing, and I learn best through projects. So just like what we're doing today, I started 3D printing and modeling, which I didn't always do 3D modeling, but I started by having a problem of my own and going, I really wish I had a solution for that, but nothing exists on the market. So I decided to get yourself some calipers. This will be 100% necessary if you want to do any functional prints and modeling for functional prints. They don't have to be expensive, and they don't have to be digital, like we just talked about earlier. And then from there, go on YouTube or pick a program. People in chat, you know, if you have your favorite program, throw it in there for ideas for them to look at. And then just start modeling. And following a YouTube tutorial is what I would actually recommend. But beyond that, there's not too much else that you'd want. If you're really good in like a classroom setting, some of those online tools with like tutorials that walk you through step by step and wait for you to finish little projects, that might be a good solution for you. But it depends kind of how you learn. I'm more of a just give me the stuff and I'll figure it out kind of guy. But that's the way I am. A little bit different than other people, which is also why like I had trouble. When I say trouble in school, I didn't get like terrible grades or anything, but like I did really, really well in subjects I like. I did really poorly in subjects I just didn't care about. So for me, it's really finding something I enjoy doing, and then I don't have a problem learning it. All right, we're going to go out 30 millimeters as this, so we'll make that the offset here, and that's something that I could, again, do a variable for, but I don't need to. What I can actually do in this case is just come in here and do rename and type this in as tube length, and then if I ever need to change it, I can just come back here and change it instead of doing variables. Variables are really good in cases where you're doing it off a sketch, because sketches are not an operation. I think that's what they're called. So I would have to go back in and edit the sketch if I want to make any of those updates, whereas the variables allow me to basically edit the sketch without having to go into it, which is cool. Archie says, digital caliper should have a smaller solar panels. Absolutely, I totally agree with that. Martin, is it Martin or Martine? Says, hello from the Netherlands, have printing stress, order a lot, but printer is full. Not love it. Jacob says, I see you're using Shaper 3D. I was using it some time ago, but I really missed the timeline feature from Fusion where you could jump back and any action do. Don't you need a feature like that? So Jacob, I think this right here, this history, is actually a new feature they released in the last, I think, 6 months or so. And it is parametric. It is parametric features, so it is like the timeline. So as we model today, just keep an eye on that. And yes, that's why I like this software. And it runs well. It's very well optimized. Oh, sorry, you just commented on there. Yes. Hello from Budapest, welcome. Ali says, I was going to go with the Creality K2 Max, but they still don't stock replacement parts. Yeah, and that's interesting. I actually ordered a bunch of replacement parts for my Bamboo printers, and I've got some on hand now. So that is handy. I do like that they have everything that's accessible. Drippy, problem finding problems to solve, anything basic that that's easy to model. I have a hard time, coming up with ideas for you, just because it's so personal. But the easiest way to find things that bother you, or to model, are find things that bother you. So usually things like problems that I have, or like in my day-to-day life, I'm like, wow, that's annoying. And if I say that's annoying 3 times, you're kind of at the point where you can go, maybe I do need a solution for that. To everybody asking, this is Shaper 3D. Again, I'm actually not sponsored by them. I have considered reaching out, but yeah, it's just my software choice. It is paid. That's the downside. They do have a trial, though, if you're interested. Okay, next thing, we need to build a plate that I can put some screws through. So let's go ahead and we'll do, let's just guess here. So again, calipers are so great because you can just kind of look at how you want this. That's 96, that's way too big. We could get away with 31, probably 10 on each side actually is all we need. So let's do, or maybe let's do 15. I'm debating, I'm sorry, I'm having debates, everybody. So we'll do 31 plus 20. I don't know if I like that. Sorry. See, this is the reason why I have trouble modeling on stream is because if everybody's curious how I model, this is literally it. Maybe I'm not like, well, I do talk to myself when I model as well. So I guess that's the same. But we'll go 50. We'll do a 50 by 50. Little uniformity there, except for I don't need it all the way. See, I need I could do corners. That's probably where my best pocket is. So I'm gonna drag a line out here, And I'm going to make these construction lines. Construction lines don't interfere with the rest of your design or your model. They just act as like tools for measuring or creating constraints against the rest of your model. Dan says, have you noticed a decrease in sales? Mine personally have dropped about 70% in the last 2 months. I've seen the opposite. They've started to ramp up slowly, but it's been slow. And for me, it is a matter of new products, new products, new products. So I have a ton of new products in the process. I actually need to print off some of the stuff. Some of it's modeled, some of it's printed, but I'm getting ready for a big photo shoot this weekend and hoping to list anywhere from 6 to 8 new products up this weekend. They're all kind of one big set for some potting and planting type stuff. So let's see here. What's the next question? Half functional. Hey, from South Dakota, been enjoying your content lately. Appreciate it. Yeah, and thanks for sticking around. It does mean a lot. It's, you know, I made this channel for the purpose of trying to show everybody, you know, kind of what this process looks like of trying to start a small business and the ups and downs and challenges and the wins and losses. And it's been a pretty cool ride. All right, so what I'm doing here now is we're just going to do them on the corners. I think that's really all I need. And we'll go ahead and select the center to here. And I'm going to do 12. Actually, I take that back. We're going to do another construction line from the edge of the circle to there. And then I'm just going to plop it on the midpoint. And what am I doing here? Look at that. That's not even on the bloop. So, okay, now we're good. Drag this up. And those are not construction lines at the moment. Where'd that midpoint go? There it is. Okay, cool. Now I'll go ahead and grab these. I think this one I can delete, and we'll just make these construction lines. All right. Next question that's up is, yes, I have tried Shaper on iPad Ollie, and it is good. I just can do things way quicker on the laptop, so that's usually where I do it. Larissa, this is Shaper 3D. All right, back to modeling. So I chose to do 4 millimeters there. I typically use drywall screws for all of my, actually my entire little space down here, everything's drywall screws. It's not the correct application for drywall screws, I'm aware of that, but they're really cheap. And when I'm just doing things for myself, I can use drywall screws. So I do 4 millimeter holes for drywall screws, and that's usually a good amount that I need. So now we're going to do this. We're going to grab all of this, actually, and we actually don't need to grab the center. And then we're going to extrude this, and if anybody can guess how much we're going to extrude this by, we're going to do it by S width. So negative S width. Oh, I can't do negative. Did I spell it wrong? S width. Oh, look at that. Here's something, we're learning something new here. I want to see if I can do negative on there. Oh, does it have to be in parentheses? It does. Interesting. So we're still doing the variable because, again, I want it to be consistent with the rest of it. So that's actually going to give me 30 inches or 40 inches. And we're going to do union to that. So that means this whole thing is one big body. So now we've got our tube. So that's cool. Because I realized I'm going to make it a through hole that goes all the way, I think, I'm going to actually reduce this down to tube length and do 20. Because it's going to go all the way through. So that will be cool. Let's see here. Half and functional. In your production environment, what extra parts are you keeping on hand for your printers? Basically nozzles. That's pretty much it. But again, I just changed over everything to hardened steel nozzles, and I really don't need or suspect I'll need to change those in a very long time. And then I also do keep extra build plates. It's nice to have, you know, maybe a couple build plates per printer. And then I also have the other types, the bamboo super tack plates, which I use for specific products. So that's cool as well. All right, so we got our holes here. Now let's turn off the sketch. Let's grab these corners because we actually don't need them to be that far out, and we'll do a chamfer, and let's just drag it in until I feel it looks cool. Let's do 20. Something like that. You'll see where I'm going with this, everybody. We'll grab these edges, and again, I already know how much. This needs to be 3. That's going to be for the screw head itself. And then we can grab these edges. And we're going to drag this in, but instead of doing a chamfer, we're going to round these off to make it look nice. And we can do, I think 9 looks nice around the curve there. Let's see what it looks like. I think that looks a little bit more uniform. All right, so now we have a part that's starting to take shape and is pretty cool. Now for strength purposes, it's going to be printed like this on the side here, right? So the layer lines are going to be vertical. So the places of stress on this part are potentially going to be snapping off this, headpiece. And the weak part is going to be right here between the transition between the flat part and the top. So to even out that transition going up, what I like to do is just add some extra fillets in here. And if we do like a 3-inch or a 3mm fillet, that will add just a little bit of extra space going up there. Now this outside, so we'll grab this and we'll grab this. I like to add just a 1mm so that way you don't get any elephant's foot on the bottom when that's going through. And then again, to make this work well, we're actually going to do 2mm on the inside as a way to feed the pipe in, and then we'll do 1mm on the outside so that way it looks nice and finished. And honestly, that looks great. So I mean, it's as simple as that, from going from an idea to a finished part. And I think once you get a hang of things, modeling takes a lot less time than everybody thinks it does when you're still learning. So I'm actually going to grab this here, and you can go back and edit, which is cool. And I'm going to grab some of these other edges and add them in so I don't have to continually change them. So I'm going to add that outside edge because that one was in there too. And then this one, I'll just delete it because that's a redundant one, and it gave me an error message anyway. Somebody said, what are you making? And the answer is, because I'll keep showing everybody, but we are doing a 3D modeling pipe designed for this old electrical conduit that's made out of metal. Is going to be a curtain rod for my doorway over here, and I'm going to have a curtain so I can block out some light and kind of make it a nice little, make it feel more enclosed back here. It's got this bend in it. It needs that bend, but I need 2 brackets so that way I can mount it onto the wall. And these are going to fit over the end, and then I can put 2 screws into my 2x4s essentially to make sure it stays up. I don't think it has to be anything crazy, so that's why it's going to look like that. The last thing we'll add, which I think is really probably unnecessary, but we'll try it out, is going to be a locking screw. So let's go ahead and right on this edge here, we'll go and do a new sketch. Actually, we'll do it right on this face. New sketch. And then we're gonna go, I'm just kind of eyeballing this. So if everybody's curious why I'm doing this, it's just because I'm eyeballing it, because it doesn't really matter. And we'll grab a circle. Thank you, Mike, for filling in there. Yes, the fillet is for reducing the abrupt change between the 2 sections, which helps, does concentrate the stress. That's a very well put. Mike, you put it way better than I could have said it. All right, what am I doing here? I need little screws, so let me grab my little bin of hardware. I've got a bunch of hardware in this section here, and I've got some screws to choose from. These are little M3 screws, if you're curious. And I want to see how big they are. What I'm basically doing is I want to just add a little undersized hole that I can thread this into and act as like a locking nut. So once I slip it on, I can lock it in place so that way it potentially doesn't fall out, right? I mean, again, it's probably not necessary, but I think it's cool. and I can do it. That's the beauty of 3D modeling, right? Is that it doesn't actually take much extra work to add in these really cool features. So we're looking at just shy, we're looking at 2.9, no, 2.9 millimeters, and then the threads will bite into the plastic for the rest of it. And then for size, we're looking at 6 millimeters long. So if I make it 5 on the inside, or 4, that should allow me to get some bite. So let's make this 7. The reason I'm doing 7 is because that's bigger than the head on here. So that will be able to just slip inside, and I think actually we can get away with 6. So let's change it to 6. And then we're going to drag this out, and it's going to start to put a hole in here. So again, this is where eyeballing it comes in, but let's just see where it ends. So at 11 millimeters is where it's flat, and I want a 4 millimeter gap between those two spaces. So we're going to go back and do 11 minus 4 is 7. So we'll just do -7 here. Or, yeah, it is -7, I was right. And now that creates this nice hole right there. Is that really only 4? I feel like I'm going crazy. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, sure enough. And then we're going to start a new sketch here. And I said 2.9 for the actual screw, so we'll do 2.9. We'll grab that one, and this is a through hole, so we'll just drag that all the way through there. And that's that. Again, to clean things up, you can add some nice chamfers, and the rest of those we'll just leave as is. So that will be my locking screw, or my key. I think it's called a key, to keep things in place. Pretty cool. Z223, hello, welcome to the stream. Glad you are here. Let me see if I can catch up here. Jonathan, you guys are talking. Tommy says, is there a reason you're using Shaper 3D instead of Fusion? Yes, the answer is because Fusion 360 runs like dog on my computer. And I have a MacBook Pro M1 base model, so you'd think it doesn't, but Shaper 3D is very well optimized, not as powerful in terms of feature set as something like Fusion 360. But again, I think I live in a very specific space that I go so quickly from product idea to final product that Fusion 360 and all of its potential bloat with features and the fact that it runs like dog on my computer are two reasons why it's just more than I need. And I think Shaper 3D is actually like half the cost yearly. So that'll be cool. Drippy Cheese, are you going to print this off? Absolutely I am. I don't think it'll be done by the time stream is done, but I can do a short on it, and we can have that up. So let me actually get this stopped here. You guys don't need to see me export it. And one of the things, so I said it was 21, but I'm actually going to do 20.5. That way there's no risk of having to reprint a new one, because I'll have a little bit of wiggle room to get it onto the pipe. So that should be good. Go ahead and export this as an STL. And then I will pull up Bamboo for you guys. And call this pipe bracket. So just bear with me. It's hard because I have like personal stuff right on my computer, so I'm trying to like juggle those two things. All right, A1 Mini, and let me get Bamboo. There we go. Bamboo, welcome. Look, I did prepare a little bit. I prepared a little bit, guys, for today's stream. Let's see here, Larissa, I really appreciate that. Let's see here. Richard says, nice to see this live 3D modeling. Love your channel and content. Yeah, appreciate it. We've got lots more coming because, I'm going to make content as long as my business exists, and hopefully that's for a long time. This business is doing better than all the other businesses I have done. Yeah, so it's been cool. Larissa, what's butter? Is solid or Fusion 360? I'm assuming that's what's better, but I'll tell you that Shaper 3D runs like butter on my computer, which is fantastic. I think, again, it depends what feature set you need. If the only feature, or only 2 features that are missing from Shaper 3D, so if somebody from Shaper 3D is watching me talk about your stuff and model on your software in this stream and listening to all the people in chat, this is the 2 things we need in Shaper 3D. Number 1 is a thread tool. I'm tired of making my own threads, but I will continue to do it until you add it. Please add a thread tool. Fusion 360 has an ability for you to add threads and then make them standardized sizes for like what's out in the real world. It's fantastic. I wish they had that. The second thing is being able to import an SVG file, which for those of you who don't know, SVG is a vector image that you might get from a graphic design software. And a vector image is what a lot of logos and stuff are made of. So you would be able to import an SVG, and then I could just basically extrude my logo into any part. That would also be good for a whole bunch of other applications that I don't even need to get into, but if they could add import SVG, it's not an accepted file format at the moment, which really bothers me, but we'll get there. Hopefully they add it sometime. Hopefully they add it. All right, so we're in Bamboo here. Something to know about Bamboo, and I've been doing a little bit of testing, especially with the video I just put out yesterday, but you don't really need anything crazy on the profiles for strength. I usually just bump it up to 4 if I need like some extra strength. Everything else is pretty much fine. I don't need the travel. That always makes things look like a nightmare. And for a part that I'm just making at home, I think that will work fine. Let's see how long it's going to take. Look at that, 36 minutes. So I'm actually going to run that off on 2 printers. That way I can get it out as fast as possible. So let's go ahead and get that printed. I'll do it on number 1 here, and we'll get it sliced up and throw it on printer number 3. It is very handy having multiple printers for this exact reason. It could easily fit on the same print bed, but you can get it out twice as fast if you have more. Let's see, half functional. Biggest issue I'm having with 3D printing so far is waiting on the printer. Yeah, I would agree with that. Sometimes I'm just so eager, you know, and that's what I do like about these little designs is that they just get done so quick. You can really iterate on designs and products super fast. All right, so that's started. If you're curious about how that's going to go, I will put out a short video on kind of me installing that little curtain, and you can check it out. If anybody's curious what I'm going to be using, sorry I turned my camera off there for a second. If anybody's curious for what I'm going to be using for that curtain, I'm using a shower curtain, a black fabric shower curtain, because it's just the right size, it doesn't need to be fancy, and it's cheap. So that's cool. Someone said, is this live stream off your Osmo, the color grading in OBS, or does it look this good? It is the standard color profile on the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I do have a big light here. I actually, let me check this out, guys. I decided to not attach this to my wall today, so I could give you a little bit of a walk around to kind of show you what's going on. But yeah, this is just the standard live stream or standard profile setting. It is 4K. Which there's some weird workarounds on Mac that you have to do. I do have this, which is a big softbox. This is something I'm testing as well. Honestly, a little nervous about it. I have not left it up overnight, but I designed a little bracket up here just with some of that glass reinforced filament, and this thing is just screwed into that. Now, every time you put a screw or tighten that down, it does damage it a little bit, but I mean, it's sturdy. It's hanging in there really good. It's the whole light fixture, but I'm not going to leave it up overnight. I am concerned that it might fall right onto my printer. I guess I'll take the risk for everybody. And then the other thing that I designed, which people may have seen in my short, is my new storage wall right here. So it's a little dark for everybody, but I've got all those racks. I am apparently the only person in the world who would ever put a triangle bracket upside down like this. But they're being used as bookends, so you can see the filament is squished in there, kind of like a set of books, which is nice. And to be frank, the amount of weight I found these things can hold will far exceed anything that I put on those shelves. So even if I'm using them differently than most people use them, it's fine. It's not going to go anywhere. I did upload that model for those brackets to Maker World. So if you want those for yourself, you can go on there and download them, print them off. They hold a ton of weight. So I mean, I've got on each one of those shelves, I've got a 3/4 inch plywood sheet on there, and then it is also got 10 rolls of brand new filament. So it can hold a ton of weight. Pretty cool. They only take 50 grams of filament each, and I only printed them with 2 wall layers on those brackets. So you have to be careful when screwing them in so you don't like slam the PLA and crush it and break the part. But as long as you just finesse the last little bit of the screw head, totally fine, and those things are sweet. So I mean, 75 cents a piece for those, or cheaper if you buy even cheaper filament. Which is great. You know, that's cheaper than a bracket I could buy in store for this purpose. And those brackets are exactly what I need because I designed them for my purpose, which is really cool. Yeah, I have functional. Everybody thought that too. I'm like getting a lot of flack. You know, I think what I found is that Van Neistat, if anybody has seen his channel, brother of Casey Neistat, you know, really famous vlogger on YouTube. He does something similar with something that's not actually a shelf bracket, it's a corner brace. But yeah, it is, he puts them upside down and he has his own little shelf thing, and that's how he likes to make them. So I guess maybe I just subconsciously had that in my brain. The other thing though, is that the screws I have are 1.25" or had, which are too thick, too long, and they actually stick out the other side of the shelf. So to get the video out for my short, I didn't want to go to the hardware store to buy new screws. So I just decided to put it upside down so you didn't see the screws sticking out the top. So that's also another reason why they're there. But then the bottom shelf, I couldn't put one underneath. So it's actually, I have a free floating shelf just a little bit off the concrete, because concrete wicks moisture, if you didn't know that. So I don't want the wood touching it directly. And I had to actually use it in that orientation. But anyway, doesn't matter. It works. It's cool. If you use those brackets, just use them the other way if that's what you want, and it'd be cool. Cap Medfrag says, I would have never thought to use them. Yes. Yeah, it is interesting. Different minds work different ways. This leads me into a different discussion, which I just want to have briefly, about discussions I've seen around online and comments regarding PLA and all of that. And it is that I think people underestimate the property or the properties of materials like PLA and some of those other things. And what ends up happening is that this is the way I feel, right? So you guys can give me some feedback if I'm wrong. It feels like people look at the spec sheets for those materials and they look at them strictly and say, well, this one's objectively better because it can hold up to more temperature, or it's stronger, or something like that. And then they make a blanket statement across parts that are printed in materials that they think are subpar for the application. And I think the brackets being upside down and in PLA is a good example of this. But what I think is fascinating is that the PLA material properties, even when not used in a optimal, or when not used in an optimal position, which I'm currently using now, far exceeds any of the, or not far exceeds, it will never hit that limit for what the material properties are. I'm explaining this really poorly, but I hope you're getting it. And I think people get too fixated on what the materials, you know, high-end limit for things are, rather than more focusing on the application of the part. And I find in my personal life that PLA works for almost every application outside of something that needs heat resistance for everything. I mean, I have some coat hooks that I designed. I don't have any in front of me, but coat hooks, right? They screw to the wall. And I've literally hung 50 pounds worth of metal dumbbells off of the coat hooks and they've not snapped, which is crazy. So it far exceeds my expectations, and it makes me think differently about the materials I'm using, and really trying to make sure that the material I'm using fits the application well, and also not using a material that's excessive for the application. Zagbog says, load creep is the biggest concern with PLA. Yes, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure PETG also has load creep. When it comes to strength, PLA is actually stronger. In actual, it is actually stronger, but PETG is more willing to bend and yeah, bend before it breaks, whereas PLA is more willing to snap. So that's interesting. Let's see here. Work the trigger. What's your single most productive one-time purchase add-on for your process, sorting trays, pegboards, organization, label printer? Label printer. Done. You said it. Label printer is the #1 most effective tool that I purchased for my business. It just it's so helpful. I mean, it saves so much time because I used to have to print them on my other printer and then cut them out, and it took a lot of time. Tommy says, just got a printer and bought a bunch of filament because of the Bamboo sale. I only bought 4 with spools, rest for refills. Should I just print 4 spools and use the other filament colors? You can. I kind of covered it in a different video, but I actually think buying the spools with like the spool that comes with Bamboo is actually a cheaper and more effective solution. Let's see here. Next question. Oh, okay. So PETG returns better. It's interesting. Yeah, so we'll find out. I have had other shelves that the brackets were the correct way, and they did sag eventually. And I think the tension on the PLA might actually hold up better as kind of like a suspension bridge or something for that. Mountain Maker says, just picked up a few spools of Polymaker HT PLA. Yeah, that's awesome. By the way, for everyone in the channel, Mountain Maker is another guy doing the same thing. It's got his own YouTube channel doing 3D printing business and sells quite a bunch on Amazon and other platforms. So if you want to check his channel out, feel free. Glad to have you, Mountain Maker. Thanks for spending some of your time here. CAD with Chris, what would you do with an additional 75 square foot of shop space? I would probably make a really well-organized storage area and then put more printers in it. And perhaps maybe a packing. I think I could use a bigger, if I had anything bigger in my shop, it would be order staging area and packing area. Those are kind of the 2 areas that I struggle with the most in my space. And I will. My goal next year is to build the business big enough where I can tear down my 100-year-old garage in my backyard and put in a new one, insulate it, have it temperature controlled, and make that my full business studio for everything. And that's going to be much bigger. But I think if I can make it to that space after working out of the 75 square foot workshop, I think that's a testament to what you're able to do with the limited resources and space at your that you have access to, and you don't need a huge space to make something happen for yourself. And I think I do like small spaces, so I enjoy this type of thing and being able to figure out where I can put things. But I do think it is cool to show people that you don't really need a lot of space or things. Granted, I've accumulated a lot to make a business for yourself. Let's see here. Work the trigger. PETG has better UV resistance as well. Absolutely. So I will say the biggest thing for me is PETG versus PLA, right? So the only times that I would not use PLA are if I need to heat resistance, or if it's going outside in the sun, right? That's pretty much the outside in the sun are the big ones. Let's see here. Mav PCS says, how many printers is too much for a business like yours right now? When you say too much, what do you mean? I'll answer your question. I'd love to. If you could just give me a little extra details. Matthew says, just notice your Cricut. Do you use that in the business? No, I don't. I used to use it more often, but Cricut is one of the worst software companies in the world, and their software is a detriment to their own product. So I use it less and less, honestly, and I'll probably end up selling it or gifting it to somebody else I know. Jash Karan says, for your Etsy store, what's your main sales traffic? It is Etsy ads and just Etsy search, pretty much, right now. The main reason why is running social media for that as well is like a whole nother business. So I'm still trying to balance time between trying to be a stay-at-home dad with my kid, trying to do this YouTube channel, and trying to build and run this business. Between those three things and being a homeowner, that takes a lot of work. So I'm still trying to learn how to manage all that stuff. Oh, how many printers is overkill for the business of your size to keep up with demand? Right now, I have one Bamboo P1S that is unboxed, 3 Bamboo A1 Minis, and I am able to keep up with demand. But with the partnership that I have with Fuse Visions and his products out of Germany, his products are a lot more complex and take more prints, and the P1S a lot, almost exclusively. So it is going to be more P1Ss down here in the future, but I could probably maintain easily 5 orders a day, I would say, depending on the product. 5 to 6 orders a day, depending on the product, with my current printer set. Now, I'll be putting a YouTube short out about it, but I just got another Bamboo P1S in the mail. It's another reason why I did all the shelves and stuff, and it is down here. I haven't opened it yet. I'm going to wait to do the video and open it at that time, so that will be pretty cool. For printer capacity, you should run about 8% capacity before considering purchasing another unit, in your opinion. Yeah. Depends. Also, it's nice to have another printer on hand for prototyping 100% of the time if you're interested in getting a lot of new products out, because that does become an issue. 3D prints, if you have over 10,000 or so sales on Etsy, then they automatically run ads for you. You don't need to pay extra for ads. That is crazy cool. Well, I guess that's the goal, right? Get to 10,000 sales. People have asked, where am I located in Michigan? I am on the west side of Michigan. I am in West Michigan, and I do love it out here. And let's see here. Worldwide orders or just in the USA? I just do worldwide, just USA orders right now, and then EU with my partner in Germany. He takes care of orders that come from my shop for that market. What do I use the Cricut cutter for? I use it for mostly like making card games and board games, to be honest. So, and some stuff like that. All right. Last question I just want to ask is, I've been putting out quite a lot of shorts and just want to get some feedback. You know, how's everybody? Is that too many shorts? Enough shorts? Should I be doing more informative shorts? If you guys have feedback on that, that'd be great. And then while people are putting that in the comments section, I will answer a couple last questions before the end of the stream today. I'm going to try to pronounce your name. Khaki hat. That was actually really easy. I just had to look at it closer. Not sure if you've already been asked, but do you worry about fumes from printing in an enclosed space? And if so, do you have any active ventilation? I don't worry about fumes. I'm actually not in a small space. I am in the corner of my basement, and the rest of my area of my shop that you guys don't really see because I don't put it on camera very often, is open to the rest of my entire basement. So I'm not really in a small space. And then also PLA is, I only print with PLA. So it is very, very low VOCs. But yeah, I do have a filter in the house. So that way, you know, to be safe a little bit. But as I get more printers, I will probably get a dedicated one to put down right next to the printers and stuff. Is a filament dryer required to store opened filament? No, not if you're using PLA. You don't need a filament dryer, but all of my future P1S purchases are going to be made with AMS2, which is what I have coming in the mail later today, and that will keep everything dry, so I won't have to worry about it. Matthew, love shorts. Okay, so that's +1 for the shorts. Ollie says, more and more on process and business growth, the meta stuff. Okay, Ollie, I can do that. That sounds good. 3D prints, if you're not full-time yet, when's your biggest fear of pulling the trigger? 3D prints, I am full-time, not by choice. I was let go from my job in, when was it? End of March, and was forced to go full-time at that point. I am on the verge, I'll know if I need to go back to a full-time job by the end of July or end of June, beginning of July. If I don't have you know, the income level I want from the business at that time, I will go look for some consulting or part-time or project type work that I can do for like 20 hours a week to 30 hours a week. So that way I can just fill that gap as this business grows. So we'll see. But I have so many things in the works right now that like it is a full-time amount of time, just not pulling in the income yet. And 3D prints, you have your own YouTube channel. I was watching your stuff like a year ago and have been kind of poking around. So it's great to see you in chat here. I might message you to see how you're doing. But yeah, you have a whole space down there. Cool. Anybody, go check out 3D Prince's channel. He's got his own stuff running. That's great to see everybody in here. Let's see here. Dennis, never look at the shorts and find them annoying for taking up space. Great feedback. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Ashton, 3D printer is going right now. That's awesome. Vacuum bags, good for pet G storage. Good to know. Another person says like the shorts. Yes, okay, so we've got stuff, but want to see more about the meta business side of things. So I'll try to keep that in here. Cool, and talk maybe more about the income stuff. Cool, I can do that. Well, everybody, it's been great. Thanks for tuning in to today's stream. I hope you liked the 3D modeling. And yeah, I will be trying to release more shorts, one a day, except for weekends. That's variable because I'm spending time with family. And we'll go ahead and get some more shorts out for you. I've got maybe 1 or 2 shorts coming out later today, depending on my schedule. I've got some big updates, got that P1S that I got to unbox, and we'll talk business. Thanks again for tuning in. Weekend video is coming out, and then make sure to, check the bell or whatever it is for next week's live stream. Appreciate everyone and their support. And yes, Kaz, I'll try not to wear sweat.